In the first video, we studied how the firm decided on the quantity of labor it was going to employ at a given wage rate. Some firms, however, can decide on the wage they set. For instance, if a firm is a dominant employer in the local market, this firm's hiring decisions will have an impact on the market wage. The monopsony refers to the situation where there is a unique buyer on a market. Like the monopoly that is a unique seller on a market, the monopsony has market power. Let's see what are the consequences on the labor market if there is a unique employer on a given market. First, let's define two concepts which are closely related to concepts we have already studied. The first concept is the total factor cost. It is the product of the employment level of an input and its average factor cost. The second concept is the marginal factor cost, which is the derivative of the total factor cost. More specifically, it is the amount by which total factor cost changes with the employment of an additional unit of input, in our case, labor. The optimal level of employment for a monopsonist is the level for which the marginal factor cost is equal to the demand for labor. We're going to see that the monopsony sets wages that are lower than the wages that it would set under a competitive setting. Let's first of all study figure 15.17 from your textbook, which is the profit maximizing wage and employment levels for a monopsonist. On this graph, the supply curve of labor is the S-curve, the red curve, the upward sloping red curve, which corresponds to the average factor cost. The firm's demand for labor is the dark blue downward sloping curve. It corresponds to the marginal revenue product of labor if the firm is in imperfect competition in its product market, or to the value of marginal product of labor if the firm is in perfect competition in its product market. The marginal factor cost is the light blue upward sloping curve. It is steeper than the supply curve because the marginal factor cost is the derivative of the total factor cost with respect to labor. The supply curve of labor, on the other hand, reflects the average factor cost. Here, at the optimum level of employment, the firm will choose L star. So L star is the intersection between the demand for labor and the marginal factor cost. At this level L star, the firm sets a wage equal to W star. How is this different from a competitive setting? Figure 15.18 shows or compares the monopsony and the competition in the labor market. So these two different environments. Here, notice that the wage that workers would earn if there were several employers competing for labor would be higher. It would be at W star star, whereas when it's a monopsony, the wage that is offered is equal to W star. Minimum wage laws may therefore make sense in the case of a unique buyer of labor resources on the labor market in order for workers to earn higher wages such that the demand and the supply for labor are intersect and therefore where you'd have a higher level of employment at L star star and a higher wage at W star star.